If you're looking for the fastest way to improve your English, then you need to make sure that you're not making these top 10 mistakes. I'm Kay with ISpeakSpokeSpoken.com, and I'm delighted to share this video with you today because when my students make these mistakes, it's the best thing to focus on to really improve their English fluency. This video will cover pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. You can also click here to download the slides and take a free quiz at the end. Now let's jump into the video so that you correct these top 10 most common mistakes. The first most common mistake in English is confusing your and your. As you can hear, they sound the same, but the spelling is different and their uses are different. Your is the possessive adjective and your is a contraction for you are. If you're saying you are separately, this avoids confusion, but most often you'll hear and read and write your as the contraction, so it's very important that you use it properly. For example, if we ask, "You're coming to the party?" with the possessive adjective, it doesn't make sense. So to make it correct, we have to use the contraction to ask, "You are coming to the party?" And we can check our pronunciation here. We always put the phonetic transcription for you so that you can also improve your pronunciation. The apostrophe here shows where to put the stress on the first syllable, party, party. The second most common mistake in English is misusing there, and there. Because they're homophones, or words that all sound the same, this can be tricky, but it's really important to use the correct word in your writing. If we want to say, "There is a book on the table," we're not going to use the possessive form, and we're not going to use this contraction because if we break it out, this says they is a book on the table. As you can see, neither of these words make sense in the sentence. That's why we have to use there to indicate that in a location, there is a book on the table. And let's also work on the pronunciation here. We have a stress on the first syllable in table, table. Very good. The third most common mistake in English is confusing its and its. Again, they sound the same, but how we write it is a very important difference. This might be a bit confusing because, as you know, when we use apostrophes to show possession, that rule is different when it comes to how we use it with its. This contraction here is for it is or it has. It's not about showing possession. No apostrophe is the possessive adjective. So if we say its tail is long with an apostrophe, it's incorrect because that would mean it is tail is long. And of course, that's incorrect. So we have to use the possessive form without the apostrophe, only here for its and its. Its tail is long is showing the possessive adjective. And we can check our pronunciation with tail, tail, and long, long. Very good. Number 4, misplacing modifiers. Modifiers give more information about the sentence, and putting it in the wrong spot in the sentence can change the information that it's giving. For example, if we say, "She almost drove her kids to school every day," it means that she didn't drive her kids to school at all. And this is not the meaning that we want to give in the sentence. The correct way to use this modifier is to say, "She drove her kids to school almost every day." It means that she did drive her kids to school, and it was most days, but not quite all of them. That's why we're putting almost here to modify every day. If we remove this modifier from the sentence to say she drove her kids to school every day, it means she did drive her kids to school. And by putting this modifier here, it means that most days she drove her kids to school, but maybe just a few days were missing. But when we put the modifier here, she almost drove her kids to school every day, it means that she didn't drive her kids to school at all. So be very careful where you're placing the modifier in your sentence because it will change the meaning. Number 5, another common mistake is misusing commas. It's important to understand where to put commas in sentences, and it's just as important to know when to leave commas out of sentences. If you add commas where they don't belong, it can make the sentence confusing or fragment it into unnecessary parts. For example, in this sentence, the weather was warm and sunny. These commas are completely unnecessary, and it makes the sentence confusing because it's showing us that there is a fragment here separate from the rest of the sentence. We actually don't need any commas in this sentence at all. Instead, it should read, "The weather was warm and sunny." There's no need to separate any parts of this simple sentence. And let's check pronunciation. We have the TH sound in weather, so make sure you stick your tongue between your teeth in weather. And we also stress the first syllable. That's why we have the apostrophe here. So all together, stressing the first syllable, and don't forget to put your tongue between your teeth. Weather, weather. Once again, weather. Very good. And we have warm. Not the animal worm, but warm, warm, warm. The number 6 most common mistake is confusing less and fewer. We use less for uncountable nouns and fewer for countable nouns. Occasionally, you will hear these words mixed up with native speakers, but there is a rule to follow that will help you improve your English fluency. For example, if we say less people attended the concert, this is incorrect because we can count people. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. That's why the correct word to use in this sentence is fewer. Fewer people attended the concert. And we have a stress here on the first syllable, fewer, fewer. And a stress on the first syllable in concert, concert. The 7th most common mistake is using incorrect verb tenses, especially when you're talking about a specific time frame. So for example, I seen him yesterday is not the correct form of the verb to use. Instead, we should use I saw him yesterday. And remember that we have these phonetic transcriptions for you to help continue to improve your pronunciation because that is key to proper English fluency. Once again, saw, saw. Very good. Number 8, another very common mistake is splitting the infinitive. It's important to look at where you're putting the adverb in a sentence with a verb. So for example, to quickly finish, we have to and we have the adverb and the verb. Many people consider this incorrect. Even though you may hear native speakers speaking in this way often, it's going to be very useful for you to know the proper way to order these words. We should have to and the verb, then the adverb. So instead of saying to quickly finish is her goal, which sounds a little weird to native speakers, you should say to finish quickly is her goal. Once again, to, the verb, and then the adverb is the correct order. And let's look at pronunciation. Make sure that you're really opening your mouth when you say goal, goal. Once again, goal. Number 9 is a bit more advanced, and this common mistake is confusing affect with an A and affect with an E. Affect with an A is a verb, which means to influence, whereas affect with an E is a noun, which means result. An incorrect way to use affect would be the effect of the movie was profound. Again, because this is a verb, this sentence is incorrect. We can change it to be correct if we use affect with an E by saying the effect of the movie was profound. Again, here, affect, the noun, would make this sentence correct. We can use affect with an A correctly by saying the movie affected. Here we're using it as a verb, adding the ed ended. The movie affected me profoundly. And if we check pronunciation, you can see that we've got stress on the second syllable, affected, affected. And with affect with an E, we also stress the second syllable, affect. So it's very tricky to hear the difference. So again, it's important to focus on the written examples. Last but not least, number 10, misusing me, myself, and I. It's important to use these reflexive pronouns correctly because if we say myself did it, or between you and I, or give it to I, these are the improper uses of the words. Instead, we should say I did it. Whenever you do something, you say I. However, if you're saying that you did something to yourself, you say I For example, gave myself a haircut. And if you're explaining between you and me, you're not saying between you and I, you're saying between you and me. Avoiding these top 10 mistakes in English is a great step to improving your fluency. And if you want to know more about your level in English, you can take this test. It's only 10 minutes and it has 24 questions. I've put this together for you so that you can see which level in English you have so you can continue to improve. Once again, I'm Kay with ISpeakSpokeSpoken. I'm delighted to have taught you today and I hope to see you next time. Bye.